Bonjour or bonsoir, possibly if it's the evening. Comment ça va? Ça va bien? We're on our last part of chapter 2, almost there. So today we will talk about adjective agreement and position of the adjective, the indefinite articles un, une, and des, which mean a or some, and our first set of regular verbs, the ER verbs, will open up a whole new world for you. Okay, les adjectifs. So adjectives, we've talked a little about this before, but now we'll officially talk about it. The adjective has to agree in gender and number with what it describes. Um, we already discussed the adjectives that do not change. There's a small group of adjectives that do not change from the masculine to the feminine, and these are the ones that already end in an E in the masculine. You don't need to do anything to them in the feminine. But if an adjective ends in a consonant, this is the most common way to make it feminine. It's just to add an E at the end. So content becomes contente. So you pronounce the final consonant when you add the E. Intelligent becomes intelligente. Oui. How do you say this? Grand, don't pronounce the D. And this, grande. Petit, petite. Méchant, méchante. Joli, jolie. Here there's no change in pronunciation, just a spelling change. Okay, and here are some other common patterns. Page 45 tells you the most, a number of different patterns, but these are the common ones. F turns to a VE, sportif becomes sportive, actif becomes active. The EUX in the masculine changes to EUSE in the feminine. And these are the verbs that we've already seen. Ennuyeux becomes ennuyeuse. Paresseux becomes paresseuse. Wait, what is ennuyeux? Ennuyeux, lazy. No, sorry, boring. Paresseux, this is lazy. And then courageux becomes courageuse. And then this is a strange one. The TEUR becomes TRICE. Provocateur, provocative, becomes provocatrice. Okay. And then, of course, you have a few irregular adjectives. The only two I want to point out that are common here are the beau and the belle, which mean beautiful, beau, belle. And then old is vieux in the masculine and vieille. Can you say that with me? Vieille in the feminine. V-I-E-I-L-L-E. It has two I's. A lot of people forget that second I. In front of a vowel, these two irregular adjectives change. If it's masculine, so oiseau means bird, it's a masculine noun, so we wouldn't use the feminine form, but we use this special form. Why do we do that? Because the French like their language to flow. So whenever it's a nasal is bumping up against a vowel, it doesn't flow very well. So they change it. Un bel oiseau, un vieil oiseau is for the easier pronunciation. And this is your first PowerPoint homework activity. Just add this to the end of your other homework exercises. So, modèle il est fort. I want you to rewrite these sentences using elle as your subject. So, here's the sample. Elle est forte. So you can pause the PowerPoint right now and do that or come back to it later. Now let's talk about plural adjectives. Normally very straightforward, you just add an S. Il est intelligent. Ils sont Notice we're using the plural pronoun, the plural verb. Ils sont intelligents with an S. That's the most common way. If the adjective already ends in an S or in an X, no need to change it. Singular, plural, stay the same. EAU adds an X in the plural. Il est beau, ils sont beaux. You don't pronounce that X. And then we already talked about marron, which doesn't change at all. Not for feminine, not for plural. And orange is the other adjective that does not change at all. So this is just for practice. This is not a homework activity. How would you make this plural? Il est fort, ils sont forts. How about this? Elle est amusante. Is that what you wrote? Elles sont amusantes. Elle est sportive. Elles sont sportives. Il est gros. What would you write? You can pause and write this. Ils sont gros. Il est beau. Oh, ends in an EAU. Ils sont beaux. Il est vieux. Ends in an X. Ils sont vieux does not change. Okay. Now let's talk about the position of the adjective. So, c'est un étudiant intelligent. It's an intelligent student. C'est une étudiante timide. Andrea et Sarah sont des étudiantes sympas. So, based on these sentences, you can tell la position de l'adjectif. En general, in general, c'est après le nom. It's after the noun. The noun it describes comes after the noun it describes. How about here? Clint Eastwood est un jeune acteur ou un vieil acteur? Here's the word it's describing, jeune acteur or vieil acteur. Why aren't we using vieux here? That's the masculine form of old. Ah, yes, because acteur begins in a vowel, and that's one of the strange ones that changes in front of a vowel for the masculine. C'est un vieil acteur. Selena Gomez est une jolie actrice. Oui ou non? LA est une petite ville ou une grande ville? Ou means or. You like my reference to La La Land there? LA, Los Angeles, est une grande ville, oui. Julia Roberts est une bonne actrice. Bonne, we haven't seen this yet. Bonne means good. C'est une bonne actrice? Oui, une très bonne actrice. So now we have adjectives that come before the nouns they describe. So what's the deal? These are called bags adjectives. Bags because we have the acronym beauty, age, goodness, and size. So there's a very small group of adjectives in French that come before the noun, and this is them. So beauty, we know these already, jolie and beau, or the feminine, jolie, belle. Age, you've learned jeune and vieux, young and old. Goodness, we don't know, these are new, but literally good or bad, the word good is bon, and the word bad is mauvais. And size, we know petit, short, grand, big or tall, and gros. So these are the only adjectives that come before the noun. So every other adjective would come after the noun. So une jolie femme, a pretty woman. What if I said a pretty and intelligent woman? What would I say? I would say une jolie femme intelligente. So then I would have an adjective before the noun and one after the noun. So that leads us to our second homework activity. You're going to add the adjectives to each phrase paying attention to the correct form, the masculine, feminine, and the position. Does the adjective go before or after the noun? So, modèle, une actrice. So I want you to say a short, talkative actress. First of all, you have to put these two adjectives in the feminine form because actrice is feminine, une is feminine. And then, do they go before or after? We know that petit goes before and bavard goes after. So, une petite actrice bavarde. So, here are your sentences. Okay? Okay, continuing. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Qu'est-ce que c'est? This question means, what is it? What is it? Qu'est-ce que c'est? C'est un chien. C'est un chien. A dog. C'est un chien. C'est une poisson. Ce sont des chats. Chat, cats. So, why do we say un chien? Un chien. Chien est masculin. Un chien, a dog, un masculin. Pourquoi? Why? Pourquoi une poisson? Poisson, c'est féminin. Pourquoi des chats? Des chats, parce que c'est pluriel, plural, more than one. Some cats. So this leads us to the indefinite articles. So as we have discussed, all nouns in French have a gender, either masculine or feminine. And in a sentence, all nouns almost always are preceded by an article, a little word like a or the or some. So this is how you say a or some in French. It's un for masculine, une feminine, and des for plural. So once again, how do you know if a noun is masculine or feminine? Unfortunately, you have to memorize. There are a few tricks, but mostly it's just memorization. You just have to know un chien. Chien masculin, poisson féminin. J'achète des livres. I buy books, or I'm buying books. And in the negative, we're going to learn this verb in this section here. In the negative, the un, une, and des change to de. Je n'achète pas de livres. I'm not buying any books. And just to point this out, we're not going to go over these right now, but on page 52, there's a list of professions. But here's some professions that may be of interest to you. Une dentiste, c'est une dentiste ici. C'est une professeure. And this one, most of all, it's not in the book, I'm giving it to you. C'est une infirmière. C'est une infirmière, a nurse. And moving on, we are coming to our first group of regular verbs. So these are called the ER verbs. And the form of the verb with the ER at the end is called the infinitive. This is the form of the verb you would find in the dictionary. So in order to conjugate it, by conjugate we mean to put it with a pronoun, we drop the ER, and that gives you what we call the stem. And then we add the following endings to the stem. So for je, you would add I. For tu, you add es. For il and elle and on, you add I. The nous is ons. The vous is easy. And the il, elle, plural, you add ent. And for the ER verbs, we draw what we call a boot around these. So just the nous and vous are not included in the boot. What's the significance of the boot? The verbs are all pronounced the same inside the boot. So even this ENT, you do not pronounce the ENT. I don't know how many times I say this to my students. Do not pronounce the ENT. As you know, the final consonants are silent. Okay, so our first verb, aimer, aimer. This is the form, this is the infinitive. It means to like or to love. So repeat after me. J'aime. Tu aimes. Il aime. Nous aimons. Oh, I'm pronouncing that S because the verb starts with a vowel. Nous aimons. Vous aimez. Ils aiment. Or elles aiment. Again, there's a liaison because the S links to that first vowel. So again, everything in the boot is pronounced the same. M, 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 M. And the ONS, nous aimons, the easy, vous aimez, is pronounced A. Okay? Our first verb, j'aime. I could say j'aime les chiens. J'aime les chiens. I like dogs. Et vous? Vous aimez les chiens ou les chats ou les chiens? C'est un chat, c'est un chien. Vous aimez les chats ou les chiens? Et tes amis aiment les poissons? Oui? J'aime. Another verb, un autre verbe. Regarder means to watch. Tu regardes la télévision? How would you say I watch television? Oui, je regarde la télévision. Les étudiants, oh, how do we pronounce this verb? Les étudiants regardent Netflix? Oui, les étudiants regardent Netflix, oui. Vous regardez les films d'horreur? Oh, moi, je ne regarde pas les films d'horreur. Négatif. Moi, je ne regarde pas les films d'horreur. Et vous? Nous regardons le football. Le football? Qu'est-ce que c'est le football? Soccer. How do you say football like in the NFL? That's le football américain. American football. Vous regardez le football? Oui. Écoutez, to listen. Tu écoutes le rock, le rap, le jazz, la country, la musique classique, le rhythm and blues. Moi, j'écoute le rock. Et toi? Et tes parents, your parents, ils écoutent le rock aussi? Also, aussi, oui. Ils écoutent. Habiter, to live. Tu habites un appartement ou une maison? Ou is or. Tu habites un appartement, do you live in an apartment or in a house? Moi, j'habite une maison. Et toi? J'habite. Les célébrités habitent à Los Angeles. Oops, I forgot my S here. It should be L-E-S. Les célébrités. Vous habitez à San Diego. We use a in front of a city to say in a city. Vous habitez à San Diego? Oui? Non? Moi, j'habite à San Diego. Et toi? Okay, lots of ER verbs. Many, many, many more than are listed here. But these are the ones in the chapter. See pages 52 and 53. Let's look at these quickly. Aimer, adorer, chanter, danser, détester, écouter, étudier, fumer, habiter, you don't pronounce the H, jouer, manger, parler, You're repeating after me, right? Préférer, regarder, téléphoner. You see those E accent aigu? You know that those are pronounced E. Téléphoner, travailler, voyager. So people get these mixed up. Travailler does not mean to travel. It means to work. Voyager is to travel. Okay. And this is a small detail. It's page 55, that a few of these verbs they have a small spelling change just inside the boot. So for the verb acheter, to buy, you add an accent grave, inside the boot. So this is pronounced j'achète, j'achète. You hear the j'achète. Outside the boot, the spelling is the normal pattern. Nous achetons, vous achetez. Okay, and here's what it has in the book, page 55. So you could say j'achète le café, I buy the coffee. Vous achetez le café. So vous is outside the boot, so you don't have that little spelling change, little accent. Tu préfères les chiens? Tu préfères, the verb préférer, so it has another little accent change inside the boot, but outside the boot, no. Nous préférons les chats. And finally, last thing, two verbs. You can use two of these verbs together. You will conjugate the first verb and just leave the second verb in the infinitives. That is always the rule when you use two verbs side by side. The second verb always stays in the infinitive. So if I say j'aime danser, what do you think that means? I love to dance. So the infinitive translates as to do something. J'aime danser. And the negative, if I wanted to say I don't like to dance, I use the ne and the pas just around that first verb. Je n'aime pas chanter. Je n'aime pas chanter. Tu aimes danser et chanter? How would you answer that question? J'aime danser. Je n'aime pas chanter. Or maybe the opposite. Nous adorons parler français. Oui, oui, nous adorons parler français. Oui. Les étudiants aiment travailler. We didn't pronounce that ENT. Travailler, does that mean to travel? No, it means to work. Les étudiants aiment travailler? Oui et non. Et nous avons les devoirs, the homework. As usual, discussion, assignments, two new sets of flashcards for the form and position of adjectives and ER verbs. This is a very important category of verbs, so practice these flashcards. Pratiquez, pratiquez, and prepare for your Chapter 2 quiz, okay? Bonne journée! Au revoir mes amis!